All right, boys and girls. So I have a customer interview with my guy, Terrance Evans. Now, Terrance has gotten a phenomenal result inside of his business. I wanted to bring him on today, kind of share with you all at least what he's learned in working with us as well as his results. So in the first 60 days of working us, you went from Terrance 1.6K all the way to 6.9K, which is basically like almost a 4K increase in the first 60 days of working with us overall. And by the way, we were talking about this. You're in West Point, Mississippi, which don't hate me for this. I have no clue where that's at. So for everybody listening, first of all, where is West Point, Mississippi at?
It's a small town, probably about 2 hours outside of Memphis, Tennessee.
When we talk small town, how small? Because I always hear barbers like, "Oh, I can't
Uh,
increase my income. I'm in a small town."
I mean, about 4,000 people.
No shit. So for you, before even getting this program, did you think you'll be able to scale your business in that short time frame like that by chance?
No, no,
Okay.
never.
Okay. What were you doing, man? Dude, I know you've been, cutting hair for a while. What were
Yeah,
you doing to get to the 1.6K and how long were you cutting for?
man, I've been cutting hair probably about the last 4 years consistency because I worked and then I cut hair on the side. And then once I kind of dedicated myself fully to it, it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna see what happened. We're gonna try to make this our primary job, everything. So a lot of trying to be consistent on social media, posting every day, getting content out there, getting people out there, getting referrals out there for other people to kind of say, hey, come in, try them out, let's see what happens. So stuff like that.
And I know you were posting before, and that was one of the big reasons why you decided to work with us overall. Because you're like, hey, I'm posting. It's not really it got me to 1.6K, but what was the gap that you saw where you're at versus why you decided to work with us in the first place?
Taking my CSM advice, we kind of worked on tweak some things like lighting, open up booking apps. That booking app was really like a key to me being able to watch how I'm doing it because I have customers come in and say, hey man, I don't like coming into barbershop, so me seeing you open up an app, seeing your work kind of made me want to book. So they kind of just open up a whole variety of new clientele to come in.
And that's so interesting because I'm from California now, I live in Miami, so booking apps are very big, but it does
hmm
make sense in these smaller town areas where barbers are kind of just they're not maybe on booking apps. It's a great
hmm
opportunity for a lot of people. Now, one thing we're kind of going over, obviously, everybody wants to know results. How do you increase your income by 4K in the first 60 days? And the biggest thing with this is you weren't really on Instagram. It was more from Facebook, what you were doing on
hmm
your Facebook page. Can you talk about that a little bit, about what was working for you on Facebook and why Facebook worked really well for you?
because you have so many people in your community that you follow throughout Facebook, so they repost your picture,
Mhm.
you tag people, it gets to a different audience, and then that kind of more people start to gravitate towards your work because if you're putting out good work, then people are like, hey, I want to try him, I want to book an appointment. Okay, so he got a booking app, so we're gonna go in there, we're gonna lock in with him. So and then referrals from other people that you've been cutting for years, it's like, hey, yeah, he's been here, he's been around, so just come by and check him out.
Absolutely. And what are you charging right now for a haircut?
Now it's $30 for a haircut, $40 for a beard.
I guess right now, man, because obviously, you're working with us not only to, help you with social media and get new clients in, but also to scale your pricing. Probably
hmm
before you were probably like, man, I don't know if I can charge those higher prices. How are you feeling now?
Yeah.
Now seeing this and seeing the potential.
It's almost like I need to go up some more. It's just like as more people coming, more people get to see you. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay. So I realized once the price changed, and it's kind of like, okay, there was no slowdown, there was no drop off. So it's kind of like, well, maybe I probably should have been doing this a long time ago and just did not expect it to be like that.
Yeah. I got a couple questions I want to run you through and kind of go over with you. I guess the first one, obviously in those first 60 days, 1.6K a month to then that 6.9. Obviously there was a moment when you just started seeing everything click, right? What was that moment for you? What happened and what was going through your head? Kind of were you excited? Were you like, oh my God, is this actually happening? Were you kind of surprised?
Well, I think we always kind of get surprised a little bit because we don't know how much people think that they value my quality of work.
Mm.
And when you get people to come in and say, hey, I'm rocking with you because you do right by me. You come in and give me what I want. You give me what I look for. And it's always consistent. Staying consistent with it is always kind of the biggest thing for me. And then people come in and say, oh, we see you here every day. You're here 5 days a week. You're cutting every day. It's almost like, man, wow. It's like where he's dedicated to what he got going on. And I realized a long time ago, if I'm going to go do it, I got to be dedicated to
Do
it.
you feel like barbers in small towns like maybe are not as dedicated because more of like a smaller mindset of like, oh, it's not that possible here. I can't grow
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, we always had the mindset of that, hey, we're in a small town, we're not gonna get what we're looking for, we're not gonna get the price that we want, we're not gonna get the clientele that we want. And then that was really why I joined with you guys, because it was like, hey, we can get you another audience, we can reach to a broader audience. You'll have people come in that'll drive so many hours to get a haircut by you. And then realizing that and potential of it is like, hey, I can't be subject to my area
Yeah.
and the people that I have, because it's going to be way more people that's out there like, hey, we'll come 2 hours, we'll come 3 hours to get a haircut by you. And that to me is astounding.
For any barber in general, especially from a small town, right? Because like again, I also want to give you a platform right now to also speak and like what you think, like small town barbers they maybe need to shift their mindset towards, or even like where do they need to improve at so everyone can grow. Because I think to me, when I see a small town barber, I see so much opportunity because I see a lot of barbers not taking that opportunity. Just something as simple as like a booking app, right? It's Facebook, right? We haven't even like really cracked in terms of like, I know we just talked about we're getting into TikTok with you, but like for you, what do you think your message would be to like any small town barber that might be thinking a little bit like small in the business, and what do they need to change their mind frame to?
The power of social media is a very strong thing for us. And because we have so many, it's not so many people here, that we can actually reach more people through our social media, through our platforms, through our booking apps. Even like you'll have more reach than word of mouth sometimes. Because we built our clientele base down here, our word of mouth
Yeah.
and referrals. So it can get way larger than it. And we have to kind of think like, hey, if we put our resources together, put our that together and our money together, we can actually bring in more for us here, which we're not a big town. So we have to understand that, hey, we got to think creatively how to be able to go reach our audience, man.
100%. And also too, like, man, social media is accessible to everyone, right? Where's the farthest client you've had travel so far in the last 60 days for you?
I had an Atlanta, Georgia.
Really?
I had a client come all the way from Georgia to get a haircut. No, I just sat down with him. I was like, man, what made you? He was like, man, I seen your work. He was like, I seen your work through Instagram. And then I always kind of like, man, I've been trying to find a good barber. And so he came down for business. He was like, I'm coming. He's like, I'm making sure I'm booked with you and I'm gonna lock you.
Does he drive over like from Atlanta,
Yeah,
Georgia?
4 hour drive.
Oh shit! I had a client similar when I cut in Sacramento. I had this guy that was kind of like down by Fresno area, so it's like a 4 hour drive. And to me, I'm like, and I was already charging like 125, 150. I'm like, dude, this guy's driving 4 hours away every 2 weeks. It blew my mind. Number one, I know you know this. There's probably a shit ton of like talented barbers out in that small town area that could outcut any big town barber, but they just don't
Yeah,
have like the publicity. They don't have the
yeah,
marketing whatsoever. And if they did, they would probably take all those clients from the bigger towns and come right in that
exactly.
small town.
I feel like that too. I feel like we have so many great barbers in my community that it just takes the right people and the right times to be able to see it. That's something for me that's kind of like, hey, we can get there. We just have to see it.
Are people starting to take notice of you? Like, let's say in the barber shop or in the barber community in your town, like, oh wow, like Terrance is doing his thing. Are they aware
Yeah.
yet? Or like,
Oh yeah, like you'll be surprised the people that look at you when they come in and be like, "Oh yeah, that's Terrance." He cut hair. Like they're like I'm known to cut hair now. Like I'm just, oh, he's the barber. It's so interesting that you have people come in literally for me to cut their hair. That's still like surreal sometimes.
take me back to like a little bit like before you joined the program and had this incredible growth. Like you were making 1.6K a month. First of all, I mean, were you working at another job? Were you just kind of making ends meet with that? Like, what was
Yeah,
your situation like?
yeah. Like I worked another job. Like I worked in a hospital for about 6 years, and I kind of did. And it was kind of dead end for me. And I kind of needed another outlet to make more money, provide. And then I had one of my family members. He was a barber. He was like, "Man, come try it." I took a shot. I took a shot in the dark and probably took the last little bit of money I had in my bank account to try to go to barber school and kind of make that choice. And then ever since I did that, it kind of just panned out.
Like for you, like you're making 1.6K a month, right? I'm sure like, it probably wasn't like the easiest. I mean, I'm not sure living situation, easiest to live off of. Like for you, I mean, do you have a family? Like do people depend on you or you're just by yourself? Like
Well,
what's your situation like?
no, I mean, it's me, my mom, my wife, everybody. We just kind of, I have other siblings, but everybody kind of look towards me and like to help out and here and there. And I kind of took that responsibility a while ago once my father passed. So, and it kind of just put those weight on my shoulder and trying to be able to provide a better life for my family and my future family. So,
Absolutely. My condolences too. And that's a huge response. How old are you, by the way, man?
yeah, I'm 33.
33. I mean
Yeah,
that's overall. I mean, again, Joe, I was hoping you weren't going to say like
yeah,
23 because like, man,
no, no,
you're gonna make me like I'm 30, so I'm like, man, you're gonna make me feel
yeah.
old. Overall, I'm sure your family's proud of you now. I mean, are they aware of the success that you've had in the short time frame? What's their reaction been?
You know, I'm gonna tell you, we're from the South, so it's a lot of I got to see it to believe it. Like they went on board in the first beginning because it's kind of like, hey, how do barbers make money? That was all, that type of mindset. But then once they seen how, okay, well, we actually see the growth and we see people kind of migrating towards his success and what he's doing, and now I believe they're very proud of me and probably some of my biggest supporters with it.
For me, man, I'm big on mindset, right? I really believe that nobody has like business problems, but personal problems that bleed into the business. If you're reflecting back on like, let's say your rapid growth in the last 60 days, what were like some non-negotiables? I know we talked about some habits or even some mindsets that propelled
Hmm.
you forward.
For me, it's kind of like it started with my health, to be honest with you. Being able to focus on myself and my inner self. And that kind of was like, hey, if you focus on this, let's focus on the business as well. Let's put those two mindsets together and kind of get more disciplined with. If you're getting disciplined with this, you can get disciplined with this. Being able to track what you're doing, track how much you're like the difference between track what you're eating, tracking the gym regimen, but also take that into the step into your business. So your business and be able to track, keep up with how many clients, how many new clients, how many all that. Now that I was never doing that prior to me joining the program, and that was kind of like, hey, let's try it. Let's be disciplined and tracking what we're doing, and I'm still learning. So we just one day at a time.
It's kind of funny, man. It's like just something simple as like tracking or something simple as like looking over the business, give you a clear eyesight of like, it always gives me a better feeling of control. Like I feel like I'm on stable ground. Do you feel like a lot of barbers like in your area, like are not doing those things either? I know we talked about booking apps, but not tracking things, whether it be
Yeah,
finances.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I talk to other barbers and I kind of say, so how do you track how many clients you cut every month, or how you track the amount of money you make? Like, do you know the number? And a lot of them say, no, I really don't know the number. I used to track. I don't track no more. Like one guy pulled out a pad and was writing down his client. And I was like, we got progressive further than that. So it's just, that's something that I realize is a big flaw that
Yeah.
we all they don't teach us more of, and that we need to learn more of.
I think the biggest thing for me is like I remember when I first, got on a computer for the first time trying to like run my business. And I'm like, what's a Google sheet, right? And I
Hmm.
get so. I mean, I'm pretty sure you were the same. You saw
Yeah,
like the Google sheets and you're like, what the hell
yeah.
is this? What do I do with this? How do I copy this thing, right? But it's like,
Hmm.
hey, we're in 2024, right? Like the most
Hmm.
simple thing is like learn how to use technology as the tool, right? I mean, we have
Hmm.
AI even, right? Using
Hmm.
AI as a tool, using these Google Sheets as a tool to be able to track our business, using a booking app, right? Using tools that make our life easier. I think not just in like a small town as a barber, but as a barber industry, we're pretty far behind in that sense, right? We're like
Yeah.
not a lot of people are like up to speed with just technology in and of
Hmm.
itself. And I think once more barbers kind of like start learning how to track things, start learning how, like more things about technology, they'll see the utilization of it and also start seeing the growth because again, too, it gives you great eyesight overall.
It's tedious work, but it's beneficial tedious work. Eventually, it's a routine. Like
Yeah.
eventually, once you start doing it, once one week pass, another week pass, another day, it's just starting to be, hey, I'm gonna pull out document what I've done, and then it's kind of repetitious.
I know you just started cutting hair 3 years ago, right? Obviously, like, I mean, you were 30. I know a lot of barbers, man, like, you look at the game right now, a lot of barbers are starting when they're like 14, 15, 16, like super young, right? How was your mentality going into this, especially like when you see other barbers who are like, maybe half your age, way farther ahead of you? Like, did that ever affect you at all? And how'd you navigate that?
To be honest, I mean, you look at it and you kind of like, oh, I could be further. I should be more ahead of the game. And it's kind of like, hey, we didn't all have the same opportunities. I always had a look like a wonder or a question about barbering, like how you get the fade, how you do all that type of stuff, how you get the lineups. And then all of a sudden it was kind of like, hey, we're gonna go try it. We're gonna go do it. We're gonna go try it, and kind of we'll get where we want to as fast as I want to. Can't watch someone else's journey and overlap my own. So I'm gonna enjoy the process, and then once I get to the process, we'll take our business and my opportunities to as much as I can.
I guess for you, man, like obviously, like you started 3 years ago, started as a 30-year-old barber. But I think for you, looking back, like what would be one piece of advice you wish you had received earlier in your career, and how would have that changed your path?
Start sooner. Like I'm big on like you got to. If this was something that as much as I love it, and much as I love the craft and I enjoy doing the work, if I had have done this as soon as I got out of high school, there's no telling where the sky's the limit. I went to college for a couple years and pitter patter around and kind of was like, this not for me. I go work into it. I go work in the fields that's kind of dead end jobs, and it's kind of like, if I had that mindset I had now, I would go back and I would just kind of start over, put full force with it.
I guess for you, right? Like obviously you're at 6.9, almost 7K a month, right? What's your plans over like the next next 12 months? Like where do you want to get to? Pricing, income level? Like what are your goals right now?
I really want to get to 10K plus a month. That's just been my biggest goal. And even I think small, but $1,000 a day just to be able to cut would be immaculate for me. Like I think the most I've ever made on one day is probably 700 something dollars, and 1,000 is just a goal for me, just a personal goal to eventually be at $100 a haircut. Like that's sometimes it's still mind blowing to think that hey, maybe you can get there. Like if I choose to stay here in my small town and be able to get that, it's like it's still just sometimes surreal to think about it. And then I'm in the program and I kind of see people that's kind of like, hey, we got here, took time to get here, but we got here, and it's kind of like, okay, just keep my head down, keep going, I'm gonna get there.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for you, like advice I give to you, dude, like number one, I think you can get easily to 10K a month just from the Facebook stuff, right? If you just continue pushing that and also improving the posts, and like we keep on making tweaks. But that next level, that next 10K jump, whether it be like if you want to go to 10 to 20K, once we unlock the TikTok, it's game. Like, did you see Ty?
Yeah,
Ty in a way
yeah,
got like 300 and something
yeah,
clients, new clients in 30
yeah.
days. It's
Man, look.
ridiculous.
I'm so ready to tap into TikTok. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like that's something I'm really, really looking forward to. I see now that it's a lot of we don't think about the generations that are on TikTok and
Yeah.
the younger generation, like the people that are 20 and under that looks at it and like, hey, we're on here more than we're on Instagram, Facebook. This is a lot of traffic, and if they see your traffic every day, every time they open it up, hey, I want to see a Terrance haircut. Boom,
Yeah.
it's it right here in my face, and then it's so equipped to be able to. Hey, we want to book with you. We'll pay whatever you charge, and we just want to book with you. So
I think again too, my thing with you right now is like, dude, just keep on doubling down, funneling everything through Facebook into. I think you get to easily 10K. I think we'll be really quick for a price raise pretty soon with your business overall. Like maybe going up that 50 price range, we get to play around there. But yeah, I think that TikTok thing, and not only that, but like there's also like everyone's on TikTok. Like like I know everyone's like, oh, it's only younger kids. No, everyone's on TikTok right now. It's just like the younger kids adopted it first, but I'm on TikTok. I watch
yeah,
TikTok all day long, right?
yeah,
I'm sure you
yeah,
do
I do.
too, right? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
kind of like that. Oh, let me go TikTok. So it's
Let me
like
go TikTok.
once you unlock that thing, like especially for all of our clients, it's like game's done after that, right?
Yeah.
For you, like I guess kind of wrap up. I guess if you go back to the day before you started the program, right? What advice would you give yourself now, knowing what you know now?
Should have listened to Daniel a couple years ago when we first talked. So
Well,
you'll be surprised. That's the thought process in my head. That's
yeah.
like we took me. You sat down. I want to say 2021, something like that.
Okay.
And you just kind of like, man, you need to lock in with the program, and we can get here. We can get you here. Da, da, da. And then and me being from where I am, it's kind of like it's hard to hear. Like, man, you can't get me there. I can't.
Yeah.
And I just told myself this past time, it's like, all right, we're gonna try it. We're gonna do it.
Yep.
We're gonna give myself to it. If I do it, if I push it out for myself, I know I can get there. So that's my honestly opinion that I had the day
Yeah.
before I actually joined.
So we're on a call a couple years ago. Was the reason why just more of like fear? Was it more of like you were hesitant
Yeah,
overall? Really?
yeah. Fear, and being able to have the money or the time and the opportunity to do it. Because you think about it, back then it was a little different, but we kind of my mindset was like, can I actually afford to do this and to give
Yeah.
this up, and am I going to dedicate myself and time to it? So, and that all played parts in it, and and of course being scared because you don't know the outcome.
It's new. It's like natural. And I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing, like, I want to highlight there too, is like, man, we can always be scared of things, but like at the end of the day, we're always paying something. Like for you,
Mhm.
you paid in terms of 2 years of time you couldn't get back, of like growth you
Mhm.
could have had right there, right? Everything happens for a reason. Obviously, like for you, obviously we're getting the result. I think the biggest thing, man, I'm just very proud of the fact that like not only like are you getting the result, but also for the fact that you're from a small town. Because I
Mhm.
know I've been on calls with barbers from small towns, and they have the hardest time, like, and you know as well too, kind of switching their mindset to more of abundance mindset, and you're the epitome of
Mhm.
like doing that and also getting the result.
Mhm.
And I think you're going to be a very pivotal individual in the barber industry with your
Mhm.
story.